Goblin launch detected.
Hey gang! Using the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, will get you 10% off any order over $10 at Flipside Gaming. It'll also get you 10% off any orders of singles at Multizone. And it'll get you 10% off most products at Original Magic Art, with the exceptions of some paintings. If these fine sites don't have what you're looking for, you can also consider using my affiliate link when ordering from TCG Player. And if you'd like to join the generic Goblin Gang to support this channel, there's a link to my Patreon in the description below. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game is the first one that I've edited in my new house. We have Harry playing Hanna, Frank playing Teysa, Trevor playing Yidris, and I'm playing Prosh. Frank wins the die roll and starts us off. Frank plays a Plains and casts Soul Ring. He then taps the Soul Ring for 2 to cast a Hangerback Walker, putting 1 into each X, so it comes in with a +1/+1 counter on it. Trevor plays a Temple of Epiphany, which comes in tapped, and scries 1. I play Verdant Catacomb, sacrificing it and losing 1 life to go and find a land. Harry plays an island and passes to Frank. Frank plays a Shock Land, taking 2 as the Godless Shrine comes in. He then taps enough mana for a Teysa Karlov. Moving to combat, the Hangerback Walker hits Trevor for 1. Trevor plays a Forbidden Orchard and taps it for 1 mana. He taps his other land to cast Lightning Greaves and passes. I play a Taiga and cast Sylvan Caryatid. Harry plays a Plains and casts Birth of Meletis. It enters and he puts a lore counter onto it, which lets him go and find a Plains, putting it to hand from his library. Frank plays a Command Tower and drops Rankle. He then activates the Hangerback Walker to put another +1/+1 counter onto it and heads to combat. Frank then swings Rankle at Trevor, who, upon connecting, gives him a trigger. Frank decides to only have the table sacrifice a creature. I lose one of the spirit tokens that Trevor had given to me, while Frank sacrifices the Hangerback Walker. With Teysa seeing it die, this gives Frank 4 Thopters instead of the normal 2. Trevor plays a Reliquary Tower and casts his own Soul Ring. He gives me another token as he taps the Forbidden Orchard for mana, and casts a Migration Path to go and find 2 basics for the field, and passes. I draw and play a Rootbound Crag. I play a Mana Crypt and then bring out Prosh. I get the on-cast trigger making 6 kobolds, and then Prosh enters and I pass to Harry. Harry plays a tap Tranquil Cove, gaining 1 life, and passes, but not before remembering to make a wall with the Saga. Frank plays a Flooded Strand and cracks it. He finds a Plains, and it's one of my favorite arts from Shards. He says he's definitely swinging at Trevor, and we see Rankle go at Trevor and 3 Thopters go at Harry. They all connect, with Frank gaining 3 life from the Thopters having lifelink because of Teysa being out. Frank also has a trigger from Rankle, and he picks only one of the modes, having the table draw a card and lose 1 life. In his post-combat main phase, he taps 6 mana for Sun Titan, who enters and brings back the Flooded Strand. Trevor casts an Arcane Signet, and then taps more mana, giving Harry a Spirit, and casts a Mirage Mirror. He plays an Overgrown Tomb, taking 2 as it comes in untapped, and passes. I roll for my Mana Crypt and avoid taking damage. I play a Swamp, and then cast Karuk, Primal Hunter. I sacrifice one of the Kobold tokens to Prosh's ability, pumping him by +1/+0, and then follow up after it's resolved by down-ticking Karuk. This lets me draw 6 cards, and my Planeswalker hits the graveyard. One of the cards is a Chrome Mox, which I cast, and exile a Smothering Abomination underneath it. I then cast for the Surge cost, a Reckless Bushwhacker. This pumps the board by +1/+0 and gives everything haste. I then go all out at Frank, and he blocks Prosh with a Thopter and 1 Kobold with Teysa, taking only 8. I then pass, discarding down to 7. At the end of my turn, Harry flashes out Omen of the Sea, scrying 2 and drawing a card. Harry draws and plays a Glacial Fortress untapped, and remembers his Saga, gaining 2 life. He then does the table a solid, casting Supreme Verdict in his main phase, and wipes the board. He then passes, and at the end of turn, Frank loses 1 as he sacrifices his flooded strand to go and find a basic plains. Frank's turn is very quick though, as he plays a tainted field, recasts his commander, and passes to Trevor. Trevor untaps, and rewards Harry for wiping the board by giving him a token with the Forbidden Orchard again. He then taps some more, and uses all that mana for Combustible Gearhulk, picking Frank for the Enter the Battlefield trigger. Frank risks it for the biscuit, opting to have Trevor mill. Trevor hits 10 converted mana cost worth of cards, and Frank takes the 10. Trevor then moves to equip the combustible with his new shoes, and Frank uses Despark to attempt to exile it. Responding to this once he gains priority, Trevor uses Pact of Negation to counter it. The equip then resolves, and Frank eats another 6 damage as the combustible hits him. I roll for my mana crypt and don't take any damage. I play a forest and cast Perforos in my main phase, then pass to Harry. Harry plays a tapped Irrigated Farmlands and casts a fairy, Time Raveler. Once it resolves, he downticks the Walker to bounce Perforos back to my hand, and Harry then passes. Frank draws and plays a Pitiless Plunderer, which is an expensive card considering it's an uncommon. He then drops Original Teysa, and he goes to combat. He hits me for 2 with his commander, and passes turn. Trevor pays for his pack trigger on his upkeep, and then draws. He plays a tap Path of Ancestry, and in his main phase, has the Mirage Mirror become a copy of Frank's commander. Moving to combat, Trevor swings the Gearhulk and Teysa at Harry's Teferi. Harry declares he won't block at all, and Teferi gets taken out. I roll for my mana crypt, and even hasn't let me down yet, and continues to do so, letting me avoid damage. I play a Spire Garden, and then cast Eternal Witness. This returns Garruk to my hand, who I cast again. This time though, I uptick him, making a 3/3 beast token, and pass to Harry. Harry plays an island for turn, and casts an Azorius Cluestone, and then a tap to Nyx Lotus. He passes to Frank. Frank plays a Fabled Passage for turn, and sacrifices it to find a swamp. 6 mana is tapped for an overloaded Winds of Abandon, and cue the comments. All of his opponents exile all the creatures they have on the field, and go and find basic lands. He then goes to combat, swinging 4 damage worth of Teysas at Garruk, and the Plunderer hits Harry for 1. Trevor draws, and plays a tap Steam Vents, passing. I once more pass my Crypt roll, and recast Perforos in my main phase. I then move to recast Prosh, and with the on-cast trigger hitting the stack, Trevor casts Snapcaster Mage. It resolves, and he gives a Cyclonic Rift in his yard flashback, casting it for 2 mana to bounce Perforos back to my hand. Sadly, this saves Frank. I then get 8 Kobolds and Prosh entering. Harry plays a Nimbus Maze and casts Aura of Silence. He then drops Sphere of Safety and taps the Nyx Lotus for mana, playing out Thassa Deep Dwelling before passing. Frank plays an Urborg for his land drop and taps 8 mana as he swings both Teysas at Harry. They connect for 4, and Frank then passes. Trevor untaps and pays 4 mana in his main phase for Fact or Fiction. He picks Frank to make the piles, and Frank makes them like so. Trevor takes the pile with a Bojuka Bog and puts the rest to the graveyard. He plays the Bojuka Bog and exiles Frank's yard. Trevor then goes for maximum value, having the mirror become a copy of Thassa. He moves to his end step, flickering the Snapcaster Mage with the mirror of Thassa's ability, and as it comes back, gives Fact or Fiction flashback. Trevor then casts the Fact or Fiction again, and picks Frank once more.
It's because I'm the worst player here, that's why.
Correct. He makes the piles of Volcanic Vision and Sunken Hollow as the split, and Trevor takes the Volcanic Vision. I roll for my crypt and avoid taking damage again. I play a land, Shizo, Death's Storehouse, and cast Perforos again. I then cast Dockside Extortionist, gaining 11 treasures as it enters. I use Assassin's Trophy on the Mirage Mirror, which prompts Trevor to use his mana to save it by becoming a copy of Harry's Thassa. I then sacrifice 8 Kobolds, pumping Prosh 8 times by +1/+0, and since it costs so much to hit Harry, I decide to smack Trevor with Prosh for 13. In my second main phase, I use Hero's Downfall on Prosh to destroy him and put him back to the command zone. I then recast him, getting 12 kobolds this time for my on-cast trigger, which as they enter, deals 24 damage to my opponents thanks to Perforos. My opponents then take a further 2 damage as Prosh enters. This takes out Frank and Trevor, and Harry drops to 10, and with nothing else, I pass. During his upkeep, Harry pays the mana to sacrifice the Omen, scrying 2 and bottoming both. He then draws for turn, which isn't a board wipe. He cracks the Clue Stone to draw, and finds kind of an answer. We see it with Detention Sphere hitting the field, and it exiles Perforos. Harry then plays a Mystic Sanctuary, and puts the Supreme back on top of his library. He then makes a bunch of white mana with the Lotus, and taps the Sanctuary for blue to cast Hanna before passing. I play Llanowar Waste as my land drop, and cast Xenagos in my main phase. I sacrifice 10 kobolds to Prosh, and give him the pump with Xenagos. And with Prosh connecting, it's more than enough damage to take Harry out of the game. Game review time! So I don't often get to play my Prosh deck, which is a real shame, because I love it. I tend to shy away from it because Prosh is kind of like an inevitability, where either you die from him making a bunch of tokens, or you die from him entering with Perforos or Impact Tremors out. It was a bit of a shame that Trevor wasn't able to do much with his Yidris deck other than copy Thassa, since it's entirely built around cloning and stealing other people's effects. In a similar fashion, Frank's deck was clearly built around creatures dying, and with Teysa at the helm, you get to double up on those effects. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to draw very much, and as a result felt like he was top decking for most of the end game. I'm not entirely sure what style of Hanna Harry had built, whether it was stacks or pillow fort or who knows. It did seem to be an enchantress-based deck, but we only got to see a few cards and one board wipe. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.